In the last 17 years, going from broke entrepreneur to selling a company for $110 million, I have tried basically every business. Marketing agency, e-commerce, Airbnb, dropshipping, crypto trading, SaaS. And today, I'm gonna rank them all. So the first one's gonna be Airbnb. This is your real estate guru's favorite money-making hack. And on the surface, it sounds so appealing. You can buy a property or even arbitrage it where you rent an Airbnb and cash flow thousands of dollars every month while working maybe an hour a week. Sounds amazing. So let's dig in and see where it ranks. So on the pros, it can be a very good source of semi-passive income. You know, when I was running my Airbnbs, I would say I honestly worked maybe an hour or two a week on each property. And on top of that, they got to cash flow pretty quickly. Like most of our properties within the first month or two were cash flowing positive. Not cash flowing on the deposit that we made, but cash flowing on the monthly mortgage and things like that. And on top of that, it's just kind of fun. Like, you know, we were buying these cool properties, setting them up, taking the photos, and you know, we did really cool properties. Like if you look at the photos here, these are our properties and they were tons of fun. But it wasn't all, you know, sunshine and roses. You know, one of the big challenges was actually the regulations around Airbnb. And you see it today more than ever, where cities are actually banning Airbnbs. And when that happens, the value of that property goes from being valued like an Airbnb to being valued like a regular residential home. So that property that might have been worth, you know, hundreds of thousands or millions could be worth, you know, maybe half after the regulation. On top of that, if it gets regulated away, you will also find that your income goes away. On top of that, real estate in general, and Airbnb especially, is a very cyclical industry. And unfortunately, the Airbnb gurus don't tell you this. They say, oh, there's always a good time to buy. There's always a good... No, there are legitimate good and bad times. So it's not something you can jump into every single day. And then probably the biggest problem, and the reason that we got out of Airbnbs, is the problems that you face as an Airbnb owner are a different kind of stress than most businesses. When you sell software to a company and the software crashes or the software breaks, they call you and you sort of talk like business person to business person. There's a level of, I wouldn't say understanding, like they're not happy that the software is down, but there's a level of like, hey, you're a business, I'm a business, like let's work towards a solution together here because we want the software to work. When we had problems in our Airbnbs, sure, we had people sort of like taking the frontline issues, but eventually they want to talk to the owner, they want to talk to you, and that they're not rational. They are screaming their head off, cursing you out, you know, because the cleaner is like 30 minutes late, so they have to check in a little bit late. Because of the way Airbnb and these other platforms work, you're so scared to stand up for what's right as an owner because you know if they leave a bad review, like it can tank your business overnight. So you're like freaking out, bending over backwards, trying to make guests happy all the time. So having run a few different Airbnb properties, I just decided, you know what, like it's not for me. I don't enjoy being like the whipping boy of my guests and trying to like bend to their every whim. And it, you know, it always happens at like midnight on a Thursday. It's not as passive as you might think. And when you do have to get involved, it's very painful. But despite having said all that, I can't deny we made over $1 million on Airbnb. The biggest thing is you want to get really good at identifying good opportunities. The dream of just buy any property and it will cash flow is dead. Like that doesn't exist in today's market. It doesn't exist these interest rates. The only way to make Airbnb work today is to find properties that can be radically transformed by you being actively involved. And of course that means you have to be active, so it's less of a passive thing in anyways. And so where does that land us on our ranking? Well, there's a lot of problems here, but it's such a good business opportunity. If you do it right, I'm gonna give it A tier. Next up on our list, e-commerce. Now, I have personally run e-commerce brands, but on top of that, I have a lot of friends that own e-commerce businesses. I've seen their revenue figures, sort of what's working in today's environment and things like that. So I have a lot of experience in what actually goes on behind the scenes of an e-commerce brand. And e-commerce has some really cool things going for it. You know, one of the things I really like about e-commerce is you actually own the product. It's not like drop shipping or some of these other business models. Because you own the product, you have complete creative direction over what you sell. And you can use that power in that creative direction to not end up in a scenario where you're competing against everybody else. But if you do it right, you can actually build a product that is sort of in a category of its own, which allows you to really dominate markets quickly. On top of that, compared to like dropshipping and stuff that we'll get into later, the margins are actually not bad on e-commerce. Depending on how strong your brand is, I have seen margins of 70, 80%. The more you end up as a commodity and not a category of your own, the lower those margins go down. However, there are some big negatives around e-commerce that always give me hesitation. The first is the way that you become successful in e-commerce, and I'm talking like really scaling to become a multi-million-dollar revenue business. You basically end up not really looking on the surface like an e-commerce business. Like sure, maybe on the surface you look like an e-commerce business, but if you actually look under the hood, you're basically a marketing and Facebook ads company. So you're constantly running all these ads to acquire new customers. And then you're a logistics company because you have inventory that you have to predict how many people will buy in the next month. And so we have to have enough inventory to fulfill those orders, but not so much that we have dead inventory and we're losing cash with just inventory not selling. So you're constantly balancing like this supply demand curve. How do we ship orders out? How do we ship orders cheaply, fast, efficient? And ultimately, like if you look at the most successful e-commerce of all time, certainly Amazon under the hood is basically a logistics company sort of fronting as an e-commerce company. Because of this, the way the business scales becomes a very hard and technical challenge to manage, and it requires a lot of people. You can't just spin up more servers and just sell more things. You ultimately do need people to pick the stuff out of the inventory, pack it up, ship it. There's a human component there that can be a little painful. So having said all that, there are sort of two ways I've seen e-commerce brands really kill it. First, which I've talked about, become your own category. If you have a product that stands out and is truly innovative and unique, you can do really well. The other way, which a good example would be Onnit. Onnit is the brain supplements, you had Alpha Brain and all that. They partnered with a big influencer, Joe Rogan, and by having Joe Rogan's massive audience, and he was constantly saying, hey, by the way, this podcast is sponsored by Alpha Brain. I love Alpha Brain. I take it before every podcast, blah, 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 blah. They were able to drive tons and tons of sales off of that brand. And ultimately they sold for, I think like $250 million. So if you have a strong influencer or brand that you can attach a product to, you can become wildly successful. I'm actually right now kind of helping out a friend for free who is a massive online influencer, and I've seen under the hood and actually seen like how much money he's making on these different businesses, the margins, how much brand loyalty there is, and how he doesn't have to do that much marketing because he has such a big brand built already. But he got there by building a very large brand over time. So having said all that, where does this land? I'm gonna have to give it a C tier. It's just, as a beginner entrepreneur, it's a challenging business. And unless you can find yourself in one of these sort of two scenarios, it's not something I'd recommend. But let's get to something a little more spicy, crypto trading. This is your favorite Matrix Bros way to make money. Like, it has all the aspects of an amazing business opportunity. Now, I actually have a fair bit of experience in crypto. Not only have I traded crypto for a long time, living in San Francisco where you get these hot tips and hear about different startups doing things in the crypto space, I've also angel invested in this space. In fact, my very first angel investment was in the crypto space. So I've analyzed companies, I see their pitch decks, I've personally put a lot of money into this space, so I know a good bit about the crypto space. So the benefit that I would say on crypto trading, and this is just crypto in general, I have met wildly rich people who got there from crypto. Some of them from crypto trading. Like they bought crypto, they bought crap coins and held on to them. However, the crypto trading that I'm talking about here, which is the crypto trading that is getting promoted to you, where people are saying either buy my course, or oftentimes it's not even a course. It's like they're on a podcast and they're like, talking about their latest crypto pick. Hey bro, did you buy this? Oh yeah, I was just hearing about that. No, that's insane. Yeah, I'm in that too. Let me tell you something. When these influencers and these like make money bros have their technical analysis and their crypto picks and their stock picks, they are misleading you. They're taking advantage of a massive legal loophole. Because if you were to go on a podcast and talk about your favorite stock picks and you didn't actually buy those stocks and hold them, you would have to disclose different things and you could get sued by the SEC. But because crypto is unregulated, what these influencers do is they go on podcasts, they have their communities, they hype up completely garbage coins. They get you to buy it, and that is the trigger for them to sell it. And while you're left holding this crap coin that has no fundamentals, no future, they've just made millions of dollars off of your loss. And they do this over and over and over again. And this just really pisses me off. I think it's not only completely unethical, but like you're actually taking money from people that need it, that are trying to find a way to make money, and you're tricking them, you're scamming them, and you're profiting. I hate everything about crypto trading. It teaches you no skills. It's a complete scam. F tier. I'm already sick and tired of talking about it. Let's move on. So let's talk about the business model that made me the most money, and that's SaaS, or software as a service. This is the business model that I used to build a business from 0 to 110 million in just a handful of years. And I did not pick SaaS because I was some like software guru or I knew a bunch of things about software building. I actually picked SaaS because I analyzed what would be the fastest way for me to make money, and I kept coming to SaaS over and over again. But that was 2014. The world has changed a lot. So let's look at like what's actually going on in SaaS today. So one of the big positives about SaaS is that it scales via technology. You know, when I'm talking about e-commerce and Airbnb, these are all things where you need more and more people to actually build those businesses larger, or you need more money. Whereas in SaaS, all you need is more servers or more CPU power, and you can just sell software over and over and over again. On top of that, the general business model for SaaS is what's known as recurring revenue. And recurring revenue is special for two reasons. First, when you sell something, if it's a recurring payment, they pay every month, every quarter, or whatever, you don't have to sell it again and again and again. Unlike, say, e-commerce, where you sell it, they buy the product, and then you have to sell someone again every time to have them buy something new. Because it's a recurring revenue model, you sell once, they keep buying over and over and over every month. As a result of that, what happens is these businesses are very valuable on the market. Like, you could have a agency business that's doing $1 million a year in revenue. If you go out and try to sell that agency business on the open market to like a private equity firm or someone else who does buyouts, they might pay $500,000 to like maybe $1 million for your business that's doing $1 million a year in revenue. But if you compare that to a SaaS business, that same $1 million SaaS business might sell for $10 million to $20 million. So it's a far more powerful vehicle if you want to actually build wealth. And you might think it's just for companies that are doing millions of dollars of revenue, but there's actually a really good market for buying almost any software business. Like the business that I use to test thumbnails on YouTube, very small, very niche business, thumbnailtest.com, actually just got acquired as well. On top of that, SaaS businesses tend to run very high margins. Like typical margins for a SaaS after employee costs, marketing, advertising, everything are often like 80 to 90%. And so because you have such high margins, this gives you more margin of error in the business. You can make mistakes, you can screw up, and you can still build a profitable business, but there are some pretty big cons. And the biggest one, there's just no way around it. This is a technical business. You're building software. And so you can either partner with someone who knows how to build software. That's what I did. I partnered with a co-founder and CTO who wrote most of the early software, or you can outsource it. You can hire a firm that can build your prototype, can ultimately scale your business. And if I compare SaaS to something like my Airbnb, which was profitable after just 1 month, SaaS businesses do start a little bit slower. And profitability is often maybe 6 months to a couple years out, depending on how complex the software is. Having said that, if you just look at the data, look at the single business model that makes more young people wealthy than anything else on the planet, it's software. Period. End of story. Nothing is as good as software for building wealth. Even wildly successful businesses in the other categories, like the best e-commerce brands, will IPO for maybe a couple $1 billion. And then you have Shopify, the SaaS platform behind those IPOs, worth $115 billion. So SaaS is S tier, hands down, best business model. Now, video editing is quickly becoming one of the most in-demand skills. More and more people want to be influencers, more and more people want to create content online, and they need video editors. So there's a ton of demand for this skill set. On top of that, it can be self-taught. You don't need to go to school, you don't need a degree. You can just watch YouTube videos, learn how to edit videos, and start making money. However, because it can be self-taught, what I'm seeing is there's a lot of competition in this space that's actually driving down prices. If you were to go back 5 years, there were far fewer video editors online, and so you would have had to pay more to actually get those video edits. But the big kicker here is ultimately video editing is not really a business model. Video editing is a job, it's a career. And as a career, I think video editing is actually a pretty good career. It's a high demand skill that will be more in demand in the future. So I'm gonna put it in the D tier. It's not a total scam like crypto trading, but it's just a career. It's not a business. However, there are ways to turn it into a business, which is to start an agency. And I don't care whether it's a social media marketing agency or a AI automation agency or some other made up term like a drop servicing agency. Agencies all kind of have the same basic business model. Here's how it works. On one hand, someone has a problem. Maybe they need more leads for their business. Maybe they need videos. On the other hand, you have a solution and you try to find people that have a problem, solve their problem with your solution, and you solve it through labor, not software. And I ran a marketing agency for 4 years, so I know a good bit about what it takes to run an agency, what the margins look like, and how to actually make or lose money in this business. So some of the pros to running an agency are extremely low, basically zero startup costs. And this can't be ignored as an early entrepreneur. It's so risky for you to be investing large amounts early on. And the fact that you can start an agency with like a website and an email address is incredible. So huge bonus here. On top of that, when agencies start out, when it's just you fulfilling a service, sure, it's kind of more of a job than a business, but you have incredible margins. You basically have almost 100% margins. And so the margins do drop over time, but in the early days, as you're delivering more and more of the service, really good margins. And probably the final real benefit to agencies is it's a very straightforward sales process. Like when you're selling an e-commerce product, for example, people are generally not maybe Googling your exact e-commerce product because they don't know the name, they don't know what you do. And so you're trying to convince them, like they're going along their day watching TikToks and you're trying to be like, hey, I've got this cool product that maybe you've never heard of, but you should consider buying it. When you're selling an agency product, you're basically saying, you have this very specific problem. I have a very specific solution just for you. If you want to solve this problem, this is what it costs. Let me know if you're in or out. Now, some of the cons around agencies, first, they can just be a real headache to run. They, by definition, do not scale easily. They don't scale through software, they don't scale through tech, they scale by labor. And more labor means more people. And more people means more management problems, more turnover, more headaches. People come with their own set of challenges. If you need to scale a business by adding people, it is a challenging business to run. On top of that, these days what I'm seeing in agencies in general is just way too much competition in this space. Thanks to people like Iman Gadzhi and these other folks that have really pushed this business model, you have a ton of entrepreneurs entering the space. And so video editing, margins are going down. I can't tell you how hard it is to stand out in this model today. And I'm a small creator, but I probably get 10 to 20 DMs a week from people saying, hey, Michia, I can help your videos go viral. I can help you write Twitter threads. I can help you with email marketing. There's so much competition in this space. How am I supposed to decide between, this DM that I get and this DM? It's almost impossible. And then I mentioned this earlier as well, but selling this business is hard. Selling an agency, not a lot of buyers want to buy an agency because when you buy an agency, you don't buy a well-oiled software machine. You buy an agency that hires and manages tons of people. So they're buying the burden of managing all these people when they buy your business. As a result of that, it's very low margins and low multiples when they actually buy the business. But before I tell you where agencies land, I want to talk about 2 ways I've seen that can make them really, really powerful. First is having a very unique skill set. So I'm not talking about I can edit your videos or things that sort of anyone can self-teach. It's having a skill that is hard to learn, hard to acquire, but people will pay a lot of money for. So as an example, let's say you are a CPA at one of the big accounting firms, and for the last 15 years, you have specialized in helping people move outside of America and not pay American taxes anymore. That is sort of a niche specialty that clearly appeals to rich people. And so if you were to leave and start your own agency that specializes in helping people exit the US tax system, now you're not competing against every other accounting firm. You have sort of a unique specialty and you can charge crazy rates. The other way that I've seen people really stand out in a crowded space like this is you combine multiple offerings into a unique category. So let's use video editing as an example. Rather than saying, we will edit your videos and help you go viral, you might say, hey, listen, we work with business owners. And what we do is we help them use content to acquire customers more efficiently than anyone else. We do that by doing video editing. We'll do your long forms and your short forms. And then we combine that into a lead funnel with follow-up email messages and text messages, plus landing page design and conversion rate optimization so that you can literally track the cost of your content creation empire and trace it down to your cost per lead for your business. So we do this for companies all across the US and we help them drive more sales and higher margins. Now, if I'm a business owner, I'm like, oh, I can't compare you to every other video editing agency that comes to me because you're not selling me a service, you're selling me a solution. You're selling me a package. And so I'm willing to pay much, much more for that. So then where does agency land? Well, after thinking it over, I'm going to put it at the B tier. It's pretty good, but not as powerful as some of the other ones. Next up, let's talk about day trading. Day trading is another one of these easy money hacks. You can, learn some technical analysis or learn to read the charts, and soon you know it, you'll be rich. But does it actually work? Well, here's a simple stat to sort of get your noodle going. If 100 people walk into a casino to gamble, 13 on average will walk out winners. They will have made more money in the casino than they walked in with. How does that compare to day trading? Well, less than 1% of people who day trade beat the market. And in fact, having now met hundreds of multimillionaires, some billionaires, I've never met a single one that uniquely got rich through day trading. I have met millionaires who day trade sort of as a hobby for fun. It keeps them mentally stimulated, but none of them, and I mean none of them, made their money day trading. The only money to be made in day trading is selling stock picks or selling courses. That's it. So let's not waste more time. Let's throw it in the F tier and move on. So our next business model is YouTube, being a YouTuber. Of course, being a YouTuber today is the #1 most desired dream job of kids. And frankly, I see why. I make videos and it's fun. It's an enjoyable way to express your creativity, to make cool content. And I've been doing this for over a year. I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. Now, some of the big benefits I've found. First, you can work on your own schedule. If I'm feeling lazy someday, I can go play video games, film a video later. It's there's no real deadline other than the algorithm. And frankly, if I miss an upload, which I do sometimes, no one's freaking out. So it's a very flexible work schedule. On top of that, it scales kind of organically. If YouTube shows your video to 100 people or 100 million people, you don't do anything differently. You're just sitting back, making videos, and hopefully over time, they do well. On top of that, you can achieve relative passive income on YouTube. And I put relative maybe in quotes because the algorithm does not generally promote a video forever. Videos often sort of do well early on and then sort of trail off over time. So you are sort of always chasing the next upload and the next video on that sort of upload grind, but some videos can continue to get views for years and years to come, and you can make real passive income from it. And then there's the startup costs. Sure, this mic, the cameras, everything else we've got going on here, this is expensive. We spend thousands of dollars on gear, but you can film with just your phone. People start with just their phone, and many big YouTubers still film with just their phone because it feels more raw, it feels more authentic. So very low startup costs. And maybe the final pro is I've done jobs, I've done businesses, I've done all of this stuff. YouTube is the closest thing I've found that feels like I'm having fun, I'm playing, and I still make money. So it's a really enjoyable career. But there are some cons. The biggest one by far is just the level of competition. Because anyone can upload a video to YouTube, anyone can do this, it's the bar is way higher than you can even imagine. I'm talking millions of videos being uploaded to YouTube every week. So for you to actually stand out, it will probably be far, far harder than you can imagine. And then there's the growth. You see someone like Mr. Beast and he gets hundreds of millions of views a year, but the reality is Mr. Beast spent years uploading videos very consistently, and still, a couple years in had less than 1,000 subscribers. So it's a very slow grind early on. And it's not something I recommend if you need to make money today, this month, or even this year. And then there's the sellability of the asset. The reality is you don't own your audience, you don't own your channel, you only own your unique likeness, but that's not worth that much. It's very unlikely that someone will buy your business just because of who you are. And so there's not really an asset that you're building when you're building YouTube. You can cash flow, you can use the fame and fortune to launch other businesses, but the actual business of being a YouTuber and the channel that you build just fundamentally is not a sellable asset. And then one thing I think people don't often consider when they think about being a YouTuber is the fact that the feedback loop for being a YouTuber can be very long. Now, a great example of this is actually one of my favorite YouTubers, Life of Rizza. Life of Rizza actually has blown up lately. She's gaining hundreds of thousands of subscribers and she's all the talk. But if you look back at the video that actually blew her up, you will see that she uploaded it over 3 years ago. And it kind of didn't do anything. It didn't go viral, it didn't take off. And it wasn't until maybe 6 months ago that that video started taking off. And if she had just given up, stopped making videos, stopped working on her craft, she would have never seen the success that she's seeing today. But 3 years is a very long time for you to find out that the work that you did was actually good. Compared to like maybe an agency, an e-commerce, or even a SaaS where you're selling something and you get real-time feedback from the market, the feedback loop can be very hard to understand and put your head around because the algorithm just might miss your video or it could change. So where do we land with YouTube? Well, the raw stats for my channel are actually not super inspiring. Last month we made a little over $1,000. This month we're gonna make less than $600. So if you add in the expenses of editing and everything else, like the channel actually loses money every month. But a lot of that's because I'm not doing this full time. I have an editing team and I'm able to live my life while they edit the videos. If I had just glued myself to this desk, filmed videos, edited videos, I would have had basically no expenses and I would have made $1,000 last month, $650 this month. And over time, you can start to see like, hey, this could add up. You could be making $5,000, $10,000 a month. Plus I could be doing brand deals. Like frankly, if I did 1 or 2 brand deals, this whole thing would be profitable super quick. Even though my channel is not currently profitable, that is sort of a business decision or lack of business decision versus like a natural reflection of the value of YouTube. So I actually really like YouTube as a business. I think it's an incredible platform. I'm gonna put it in the A tier, but with a big caveat. Only if you like making videos. If what I'm doing right here, right now, doesn't seem like fun, doesn't feel like something you want to do every week for the next 5-10 years, I wouldn't do it. Go find a different business, but if you like making videos, fantastic business. All right, let's get to one of the big ones, drop shipping. Probably one of the most popular business models that you will see promoted on YouTube today. You see people with the Lamborghinis, with the flashy lifestyles, all these drop shipper bros, but are they actually making money? Well, I was fortunate enough to actually be the head of marketing for a multi-million-dollar dropshipping operation, so I've been able to see how that business runs, plus under the hood of dozens of other dropshipping businesses, and really seeing behind the scenes, are these things actually making money, or is it all a bunch of smoke and mirrors? So let's talk about some pros. Pros, you can get started on a dropshipping business quite quickly. You don't need inventory, you don't even need a product, you just find other companies that have products that will drop ship them if you go and find customers. On top of that, you can actually make money pretty quickly. Like unlike some other business models, like maybe SaaS where I talked about it can take a while, it's sort of in that category where within a month or 2 months, you can be making real money. And on top of that, the skills that you learn doing dropshipping will apply to other areas of business. So you're learning, marketing, you're learning landing page design, you're learning conversion, you're learning email marketing, you're learning how to run paid ads. All of these things are actual skills that even if you decide to not be a dropshipper pro later, they will translate over to real money making skills. But there are some cons. First, you are at the mercy of others. You are not selling your product, so they can change the margins. This company that you're dropshipping for could change the product entirely. They could go out of business. You're constantly selling someone else's product. That also means that people won't really want to buy your actual business. It's not something that you can sell one day because you don't own the business. You're really just a glorified lead platform for someone else's business. They're running the real business. You're just sending them leads. And then of course, there's just no differentiator. By definition, you are selling someone else's product, so anyone that has access to a computer can go sign up and sell the exact same product. And then the final kicker for dropshipping is the margins. This is what the dropshipper bros don't tell you. You see, average dropship margins are roughly 20%, which means that if you see these numbers like, oh, we're doing $1 million a month in dropshipping, well, their margins on that are only $200,000. And that's before any marketing cost, any expenses. And I've seen actual businesses that are making $1 million or more a month in revenue, losing money every month because of the margins on dropshipping. It's a great way to get big numbers for YouTube videos and for things like that. But if you want to actually make money in dropshipping, let me let you in on a secret. Sell a course. Selling a course is the actual way to make money in dropshipping because it's such an easy hook for a beginner entrepreneur. You promise them quick money, no startup costs, you show them your Lamborghini, and then you sell them a course, and that's how you make your actual money. So dropshipping, I'm sorry, straight in the F tier. So now let's talk about digital courses. Digital courses are all the rage online. Everyone is trying to sell you a course on how to make money. But do they actually make money from the businesses that they're running, or do they make money selling you the courses? Well, the reality is they make money selling you the course on how to start a business, not on actually running the business that they claim to run. And what's the reason for that? Well, courses are actually pretty good businesses. I mean, they have basically 100% margins. Once you film the course, you just send an email link whenever someone buys it, no cost to fulfill. And then there's the startup costs, basically non-existent. I mean, I've seen courses that are literally just a PDF that you get after you buy it. So very low startup costs, very high margins. However, some of the cons around courses is it's usually a one-time payment. Someone buys the course, you send them the course, business is done. And so you're constantly at the mercy of acquiring new customers to actually scale the business. And then there's the fact that you are selling information. And so information often quickly becomes outdated. Let's say you're teaching how to run Facebook ads, and then Facebook releases a new update to their program. Now you need to go refilm that section and teach the new change. And so it's not as passive as you might hope, because there are usually changes happening that will affect the information you're selling. And then there's the actual selling of the business. I mean, ultimately the best way to get wealthy is not to sell a product, but to sell a product and then sell the business that owns that product. But digital courses don't have a large market where people are trying to buy digital course businesses. But as I said in the beginning, it is the probably preferred way for your typical business guru to make money, and that's for a very good reason. They are very good businesses to run. So I'm going to take digital courses and put them in the A tier. However, there is a way to make them pure S tier. What if you could take the high margins and low startup cost of a course and combine it with the recurring revenue and sellability of a software business? This business model would be unstoppable because you can start it very quickly, cash flow quickly, and make money from the start. And in fact, if I was going to start another business today, I would either start a SaaS business or this business. And what is this business? It's a community. I'm very impressed with the sort of direction of community businesses. You're seeing a real demand from them and consumers, incredibly high margins, recurring revenue, and you're seeing an appetite to actually buy these businesses out. So that is the final business. We'll put community in S tier. Now, if you know the business idea you want to start, the most valuable thing you can do from here is to work on the skills to actually level up as an entrepreneur. To help you do that, I also filmed a video on the 7 skills you need to make your first $1 million in today's economy. Put the link over there, so click it and hope it helps.